I'm not sure where I first came to hear about Freemasonry. I'd always sort of known about it in the back of my mind, heard various different conspiracy theories or things like that. There's a lot of knowledge out there, a lot of it's nonsense, but there is also some kernel of truth in some of the things out there. But how I really came to get involved with it was I was invited to a dinner with some family friends, and the conversation turned to Freemasonry because the father was a Mason, and as a result of that I started asking questions, piqued my interest, and he said, well, if you're interested, there's a lodge just right down the road that would be perfect for you.
I first heard about Freemasonry lots of years ago. I must have been about 10. My uncle was just about to leave Seaham for a new life in London, and one of the family mentioned that he was a Freemason, and I thought to myself, that must be something really special for someone to mention it at a time like this.
I first came to know about Freemasonry actually through the internet. I was just reading about various sort of fraternal organisations, and I came across Freemasonry, and it seemed to really intrigue me. So I did quite a little bit of reading about it. I didn't really know how to go about applying to become a member, because it had this reputation for being a secret society. And it just so happened that my girlfriend at the time, her father was a Freemason, and so we got chatting about it, and it went from there.
I've always known about Freemasonry because my uncle was a member, but I was a bit too young to ask him about it, and unfortunately he died while I was still relatively young, so we never had the conversation. But a good friend of mine was also a Freemason, and we didn't see each other that often because he worked away quite a lot, and then I worked away quite a lot. And by pure chance, we were both visiting the same town for work, and we decided to get together, have some beers, and the next thing you know, discussion rolls around to Freemasonry, and it just really, really intrigued me. So I asked all of the right questions, or at least I think I asked all the right questions, and the next thing you know, I was about to become a member.
So for me, the moment that I knew I wanted to be a Freemason was when I was having conversations with the members of the lodge, and I understood what Freemasonry was about, the three principles, that of fraternity, charity, and trying to improve yourself and become a better person. Those three principles really hit my core, and I thought, wow, I want to be part of that.
I came into Freemasonry a lot later than what most people would. I was 30-year-old, so I'd done my studies, and I'd had this Masonic thing in the background since I was younger, and then through me A-levels, and then got married, had children. Life takes over like that, and I did bump into me uncle again at a family do, and I just asked a few questions about them, and he really opened up about Freemasonry. And it was at that point then I sort of spoke to my dad and said, do you think you could have a word with my uncle and sort of get us into the lodge that he's in?
Having talked with my future father-in-law about Freemasonry and what it was about, he suggested that I meet some other members of the lodge to find out what their views on it were. So we arranged a meeting. We just went to the pub for a few drinks and had a little bit of a chat. And I knew then and there that just from the camaraderie that the men had, that this was something that I wanted to be a part of. All the sort of the philosophical aspects and the charitable aspects that I'd read about were great, but I knew that the bond that that this bunch of men had, it was something that I wanted to be a part of.
It was a strange one for me when I joined, because apart from Keith, I didn't really know any other Freemasons, or at least I didn't know I knew any more Freemasons. Because he was working away quite a lot, I didn't really get introduced to any of the other guys apart from the formal interview. So there was a good amount of trepidation when I was first introduced to the people when I came into the ante room, and they were saying, okay, well, hi, you must be the candidate, and it was all these new people coming towards you. I think, okay, well, you didn't know what you got yourself in for. But it really was, you were made to feel special on that very first night. And obviously you come in a state of darkness, if you like, so you don't know what's going on, even when you're in the lodge room and you hear all these things going on around you, and it's just so much intrigue, and it's an awful lot to take in on the first night. But when things are revealed to you, it's not otherworldly, but you feel as though you have been let into a secret, and you've been welcomed into a fraternity which has been going on for centuries, and you are made to feel very, very special on that first night.
Well, the emotions that went through my mind just before my initiation was, I was a little bit scared, to be honest. I had a bit of fear. I knew some of the people that were involved, and so I knew that they were good people and that I could trust them, but also you never quite know stepping into the unknown. There is that nervousness about it, but you kind of have to put yourself through that nervousness and push yourself past it in order to get to what's beyond that.
On the night of my initiation, I felt nervous. I knew a few of the men that I saw in the bar, which was the holding area before we went in for the meeting. I'd met them at the interview a few weeks prior to that. They really set me fears at ease. They came up and they spoke to us and had a bit carry on. You know, I came from the northeast. I was initiated in the south, so we had a bit chat about the north-south divide, and they really put us at ease. So I still felt nervous, but less nervous than I would if I was left alone. It was good that they actually came and spoke to me. The next day, after my initiation, my head was spinning a little bit. I'd been given the paraphernalia, you know, the little leaflet, so I'd spent time the night before until the early hours looking at the book and what I'd been through, and I felt proud that I'd gone through that, and I spoke to me uncle about it, and he said that was the first step, and I was really proud.
I have to say, on the evening of my initiation, I was very nervous. If you ask the officer of the lodge that took me round on the first night, I'm sure he could tell you that I was shaking a little bit. It was quite daunting. But once you go through that ceremony and it's revealed to you what it's all about, then at the end of the ceremony, when you walk out the door, you feel £1 million. It's fantastic. You're made to feel very special. The ceremony reveals to you certain things and makes you think about who you are as a man. And afterwards, there was a genuine sense of elation. So trepidation to begin with, nervousness, I would certainly say so. But afterwards, an absolute joy.
I think it's a good idea for men to consider joining, because there isn't very much like it out in the world. It is set aside from time almost. You step into a lodge and the outside world disappears. You're out of time. And I think that the traditions of a lodge speak a lot to men, and I think that if there are people who are involved in drama, music, performance, that sort of thing, they'll fully enjoy the ceremonies that we do. But I think more than that, I think just the fellowship of man and getting in touch with people who you may never have come across before, people from all different walks of life and professions and different history. You get a chance to speak to them and find out about them and become friends with people you otherwise never would have.
In all jobs, there's times where you have to take control, you have to do some public speaking, you have to lead meetings, etc. Freemasonry gives you a fantastic grounding to enable you to be able to do that. It gives you the confidence you need.
I think if people are considering joining Freemasonry, that they have to have a reason to want to join. Some people just want the friendship, and that's great. We have plenty of people who do just want the friendship. They don't want to get involved in all of the side things that you can get involved in, or take an office and get involved in all of the work that goes on in the lodge, and that's great. But I think certainly in our lodge in times gone by, we've had a lot of people from the forces, and I think people in the forces have mostly had that camaraderie and brotherhood when they've been in the off on missions or whatever you like, and they find that they get the same sort of companionship and comradeship from Freemasonry, and I think that's it's certainly a big pull for those guys. We have a few people joining our lodge right now who are fairly new in the area, and so they just want to make friends really and get involved in a society, if you like, or a fraternity that they're obviously aware of, because everyone knows about Freemasons. I think, okay, yeah, maybe that's for me. We obviously do quite a lot for charity, and I think that's also a big pull for people because they want to help their community and improve their community. And again, that's something that we as Freemasons do get involved in.
Some of my friends question the relevance of Freemasonry in the modern world, and what's the point of it? Why do we need it in the 21st century? And I would say that Freemasonry is actually the perfect antidote to some of the issues that men, particularly young men, are facing these days. We live in a world of social media, and many people seem to care more about their list of friends than actually having friends. So I think that Freemasonry is, if you like, the original social network. It's existed in its organised form as we know it for well over 300 years, and perhaps even longer than that. And I really think that camaraderie element is very important and very relevant to men's lives these days. So I would certainly suggest that if you're looking for that, if you feel that you're looking for that friendship, that bond that's missing in your life, I would certainly consider joining Freemasonry.